welcome to another episode of The Wealth Whisperer. And today I'm delighted to be joined by one of our longest standing members of the Freedom Club, Angus. Good evening, Angus. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the show.
Good afternoon, Hazel.
And yes, we are in different time zones, just in case you're wondering, What are they talking about? It's a real pleasure to see you this evening. And would you like to just introduce yourself briefly to the listeners?
Sure. Great to see you as well, Hazel. My name's Angus Blackburn. I'm talking to you from down in Santiago, Chile at the moment. I'm from Kent in the UK. I'm an accounting guy by background, married, father of three, and I've been living down in Chile, South America, for about the last 10 years, working in the energy sector down here. So that's a quick summary of me.
Absolutely. Yeah, exciting times.
Yep, absolutely.
And so this evening we're having a discussion about your experience of working with us within the Freedom Club and how that has kind of, I guess, transformed your life perhaps over the last couple of years. So do you want to kind of start off by enlightening us as to what was it that made you choose to work with us perhaps in the first place? That would be a good place to start.
Sure. I think, I came across you, Hazel, personally online probably about 10 years ago. And obviously, I know you've got many years of experience in the property world and the property coaching world. So I originally came across your persona with that in mind about 10 years ago. And I came from a financial freedom angle, I guess, being someone who has spent several years and decades in the corporate world, earning my money that way, and starting to think about how I could invest my money in other ways and potentially improve my own financial situation and possibly seek financial freedom, I guess.
Yep.
So that was, I guess, forefront in my mind when I reached out to you a couple of years ago as part of the Freedom Club initiative. And I think linked to that, in addition to just the financial freedom aspect, things such as personal development and exploring my purpose and values in life were also quite closely linked to wanting to discuss and look at things to do with financial freedom. So I would say that packet of things was what provoked me to get in touch with you.
Yeah, brilliant. So would you say that it was the fact that you wanted to try and figure out a way for yourself to build that kind of a life for yourself? Would you say that was the biggest challenge that you were trying to overcome, the biggest hurdle, having worked in the corporate world and being, in that kind of environment? Would you say that was the biggest challenge that you were facing, as how to actually see a different way of doing things? Would you say?
I mean, I think as anyone will know who's spent a long time working in the corporate world, it can be quite demanding and time consuming, all consuming. So I think I was maybe looking for an outlet to dedicate time onto other things, improving my sort of overall wealth, both in the financial sense and in the non-financial senses that go hand in hand when someone starts to look for an improvement in their financial circumstances. The corporate world itself is evolving, has evolved a lot over the past sort of couple of decades that I've been involved with it. And maybe these types of topics are actually given a bit more prominence these days within the corporate world than they were 10, 20 years ago. I don't know. But at least in my case, I was keen to find someone or some people uh, in a sort of parallel universe, if you like, to the corporate environment that I was working in, that I could sort of link up with and discuss and be coached by and exchange ideas, etc. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally get that. It is a totally different culture, I think, is what you're perhaps what you're saying there. But it's good to hear that different aspects of well-being, I think, are being addressed in the workplace. And it can be, it's very important for someone to feel valued, for someone to feel like they're actually building their own lives within some sort of more corporate and bigger structure than themselves. But equally, that has to then translate into their own personal life as well. So, what would you say has been perhaps one of the biggest benefits or transformations that has come about as a result of working, within the club?
yeah, I mean, I mentioned that my sort of first approach, if you like, to you and to the club was with the financial freedom aspect in mind. But I think it very quickly, if not immediately, um, morphed into an exercise about helping me to identify my own sort of purpose and purposes in life. Helped me learn to take a balanced view on all the different aspects of my life and start to live with sort of intention and pay an appropriate amount of time, dedicate an appropriate amount of time onto the different aspects of my life. So um, the benefit or the benefits have been big and multiple. Um, but I think for me, it's been all about helping me get clarity on that purpose and a holistic and sort of balanced approach to life, which ultimately has led me to quite a state of contentment and success, especially in the last couple of years, I would say.
Amazing. That's fantastic to hear. Would you say that ability to sort of really just tap into that purpose has been the thing that's been the driving force and the unexpected driving force that's come about as a result of this? Because let's face it, yes, money's important, financial stability and freedom are important, but it's that purpose driven state of being that actually
Exactly.
facilitates that, would you say?
Yes, absolutely agree with you about it being the driving force. Whether it's been the unexpected driving force or not, I'm not sure, because I've actually been interested and sort of connected into ideas around personal development and life coaching, if you like, for several years.
Yep.
But finding someone, and again, some people and a community that one can connect with regularly to analyze, work through, and discuss those topics has been a great thing. And it's really, I sort of view these topics as the fundamentals for leading a good life, basically leading a wholesome and fulfilling life.
Yeah.
And within the Freedom Club community, being able to, work through those issues has definitely been something that's the driving force, if you like, that's enabled me to secure those fundamentals and and advance through life on a steady footing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And would you say that there is any particular aspect of the Freedom Club that's helped you more than others in this transformation or this kind of evolving of your own journey, as it were? Is there one, or would you say it's been the whole experience of of working within this
And
environment?
I would say it's been the whole experience.
Yeah.
obviously, Hazel, you and I have spent some time on a sort of one to one reduced group basis at certain times, and then at other
Yeah,
times we've been with the wider Freedom Club community, exchanging ideas in that forum as well. So I think having the mix of those two forums, if you like, to work through the issues has been very beneficial.
yeah,
Um, I'm especially grateful, I guess, I have to say it, for the one-to-one sessions. Um, I think those are the sessions in which we've really been able to, have a deep quality of conversation and drill down into the issues.
yeah,
And so those, for me personally, have been of major benefit
yeah,
in helping me, secure those fundamental building blocks, if you like, of personal development. So
yeah.
very
That's
happy
great
with
to
that.
hear. No, it's great to hear. And like you say, I think each feature, each aspect, like the group sessions, or whether it's the back office staff or working with one to one, each has its own qualities, and sometimes you need to drill down on things, and sometimes you need to have just a conversation with somebody who's just maybe going through the same challenge as you, or has the same like-minded thoughts about a subject as you, and you can kind of really wrangle it out, and it just gives you that forum to do it in, doesn't it? Which is
It
fantastic.
does. It does.
Yeah.
And we're all a bit different.
Yep.
Some people prefer a sort of more private one to one setting.
Yep.
Other people like to be in the group environment, brainstorming and, getting multiple points of view in at one point in time. So that's another thing I like about what I've personally been able to get from and participate in the Freedom Club, that I've had exposure to both those types of settings. So
Yeah.
I'm very pleased about that.
Great. That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
what would you say? How would you say that you feel now compared to when you first started working with us? Is there a well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. How would you say you feel now compared to when you first started?
That's a good question. I would say I worry about things less now than I did before we started on this journey together.
Massive. Yeah.
I feel less anxious.
Mm.
Um, I guess, but by character, I'm sort of always been a bit of a perfectionist and a bit of a worrier. My star sign is Virgo, so apparently that's a perfectionist star sign, and always worrying about things. So um, I think throughout the course of our conversations and sessions and group meetings, I've learned to just sort of let go a bit of a lot of those worries,
Yeah.
and trust the fact that if you put the work in, if you get clarity on what your underlying values and objectives and purpose is, and then work hard and be dedicated to one's causes, then there's really very little to worry about.
Yeah.
It's more about trusting life, trusting the process, and going with the flow a bit. So I would say I'm I've got more of a sort of relaxed and less anxious persona now than I did prior to us starting on this work together.
That's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant to hear, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? Is be able to drop into that space of already being where you'd like to be in the financially free sense from now. I've spoken about this on one of the first episodes that I did about trying to encapsulate the essence of what it is that you're after. And it seems like what you're describing, Angus, is exactly putting that into practice, which is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely brilliant. And that's totally the key. So well done, you. And if you're comfortable to share, could you give us like an example of like a particularly like direct benefit that you've had, like a direct result, shall we say, of having worked within the Freedom Club? So something that's really massively benefited your world.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few. I mean, we've talked a bit about the gaining clarity on the softer side of purpose and values. Uh, I think there have been practical benefits as well. I mean, we do spend some time, and we have spent some time on the numbers. You
Yep.
know, I think knowing your number is one of those phrases, and being more disciplined and organised with financial planning.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a finance guy professionally and in the corporate world, um, but sometimes you have to actually just take a moment and practice what you preach in the personal financial and investing world as well. So I think a number of the conversations and tools that you have kindly shared with me over the past couple of years have helped me to instill a similar level of discipline from a numbers and financial management perspective in my personal life that I probably do quite well in the in the professional and corporate side of things. So that's been a definite benefit for me.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, that's great to hear, in the sense that, you know, where you're at in your profession, you're high up in your profession. You know, you really know your stuff, and you obviously work within an industry that deals with large sums of money and business. You know, at a large scale. And so it's wonderful for us to hear, for me to hear, that what we've developed within the Freedom Club is benefiting you personally, in the same way that you're obviously benefiting the organisation that you work with on a grander scale, and it's like it can be brought to that scale for the individual, and for people to just to be able to take up and, you know, work on their own financial lives, which then spills into the well-being of their overall, you know, lifestyle and family life and, you know, social life, and etc etc. So it sounds like the tools that we've provided have given you that ability and benefit to work on your own stuff, which has spilled out and enabled you to really think about the bigger picture for yourself, not just the corporate picture, as it were. So that's fantastic to hear.
Absolutely, Hazel, and I feel it would be almost remiss of me not to mention the wheel of life concept, which you kindly introduced me to. Another tool, if you like,
Yep.
in the toolkit for taking that holistic view of life, and making sure that we are paying attention to all the different aspects of our life, and having a sort of well-rounded wheel
Yeah.
to drive through life on, rather than having a broken wheel, or a lopsided wheel that can then sometimes result in, certain areas of your life going unattended and maybe not working out so well. So
Yeah.
I think you know balance between all these different elements of life is a really key thing. And I've been very happy to, work through different topics with you, and uh, try and strike a good balance between
Yeah.
all between the different aspects of life to get to an optimal place.
Yeah. That's crucial.
Mm.
Absolutely crucial. And in terms of that balance, and thinking about what we bring to the table, you know, in our conversations that we have in the club, the conversations we have in the club or one to one, you know, we use the term wealth, we use the term freedom. What would you say that the word wealth means to you now? Perhaps does it mean a different thing that it did when you first started? What does wealth mean to you?
I would say wealth used to mean financial wealth. I mean, I would never really have thought about wealth having a definition beyond that, the financial sense, previously.
Mm.
And I think now, for me, wealth has multiple aspects to its definition. Finance being one of them. Obviously, we live in a mostly sort of financial capitalist world where having money is a requirement, and it can having a good degree of financial security can certainly help improve one's overall wealth. But actually, it probably doesn't mean that much if other aspects of one's wealth are sort of in deficit. So whether it's one's relationships with loved ones and family, friends, one's personal health, something as simple as having fun and paying a good amount, using one's downtime in a sort of leisurely way and enjoying the more playful aspects of life. Having time to do that can also be an important part of being a wealthy person. So I would definitely say that my understanding and definition of the word wealth now has expanded into all those different areas, as compared to the limited definition that I probably had of that some years ago.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great to hear. That's kind of the purpose of, what we try and help people to expand certainly the mindset around financial freedom, not just being around about finances, but about how you live and the wealth in your life that you can appreciate on a day-to-day basis and grow into even more, and what it becomes most important to you. So it's wonderful to hear that your definition has had that shift and that change. It certainly has for us. And even running the Freedom Club, it's the same for us. Things evolve and shift and change and develop as we run it. So it's just it's a mutual expansion, isn't it, of these terms, of these definitions, instead of being put into a box and having a certain thinking or connotation around it. It just gives that bit more expansion, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, expansion and living those different elements to the fullest, sort of all the time, being present with them.
Yeah.
Again, I come back to balance. There is a time and a place for planning and looking forward, and maybe even worrying a little bit about the future. But you can't worry too much about the future. You certainly can't worry about the past, because the past is the past and it can't be changed. But I think if you can spend as much time in the present as possible, on the basis of those fundamentals and those different aspects, if you like, of the different wheel of life that each and every one of us has, then I think it's a good recipe for living a good life and being, generally speaking, being happy and fulfilled. So,
yeah. And if you could encapsulate in one word, a word to describe the Freedom Club, what word would that be?
That's a tough question.
I know. That's why I thought I'd leave it to the end. Let's get a really juicy word at the end.
It's a bit boring because I've mentioned it probably already a few times on this discussion, but I would have to say balance. Yeah, because there's so many different aspects going on here. When you think of freedom and success and wealth and all the rest of it, there's so many different components. And I think finding a balanced position and moving forward, living your life in that balanced way is the number one lesson, if you like, that the Freedom Club has taught me so far. So balance has to be it for me, Hazel.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you for honing it down to that one word. And it's inspiring to hear, what comes out as a result of having worked in this space and Thank you so much for spending time with us today and for your insights about the club. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see, your journey unfold even more over the course of the next few years. And long may all of this continue. So thanks again for being with us, Angus. And we'll say goodbye.
Thank you very much, Hazel. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, and thank you very much to you and Dennis and all our friends and colleagues, if you like, in the Freedom Club, who I look forward to spending lots more time with in the future. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks.